This video is to showcase the latest developments in the Farm Costing Solutions or FCS application platform, and it will focus mainly in regards to the FCS Anywhere platform. So over the last couple of years, we have worked extensively to enable the FCS application to have a cloud-enabled version of itself. And this, what you see in front of you, is that specific platform. It is a full FCS application running in a browser over the internet, and it gives you full access to the full system. FCS Anywhere Cloud installation is done by taking the FCS application and installing it on a cloud server. This cloud server is hosted and maintained by the client and can include using services such as AWS or Azure or even the client hosted server. From there, all applications is set to get access to that application. We would then give you a full functionality of the FCS system through that hosted server. This also includes transmitting and sending information from the readers and local reader manager applications to the cloud server of the client. This is an explanation how FCS Anywhere in a local installation will work. The main benefit of this installation is that FCS Anywhere uses your current FCS installation, which means the FCS Windows application stays in place and still gives you local network access to that application, which means when the internet is off, you can still use the application. The other benefit is that the reader data can either download to a local PC or via GSM or Wi-Fi, and that would then upload to our own transfer data server, and from there send it back to the local FCS installation. As a way or a proof of concept, we created the time and attendance dashboard firstly, and what you see here is that exact dashboard. Most of our current clients will already have this in front of them. This focuses on the exceptions on a daily basis, and that includes absenteeism, overtime hours, employees that came in late, employees that left early, employees that's on leave, employees that has short time, which means they didn't work a full day, night allocation employees, people that work piecework, and also those that's not fully allocated when working on job costing. So this is a way to quicker find exceptions. For instance, if you want to focus on this specific Wednesday and figure out why or which 3 people worked late, which 3 people was absent, you click on the 3 and it will show you those specific 3 employees that was absent for that day. So it's just a much quicker way to work and focus on the exceptions. We've also added various options in relation to the hours and the costs and also piecework information. So you can use that to find any trends that might need investigation, and also a graphical representation of that same information, which shows the ups and downs of active employees, absenteeisms, your normal time hours, your overtime hours, and also a very important one, which is edited employees. And you always want those values as low as possible. So in those cases where it's not, we could theoretically have a situation where a specific team leader is not using the system correctly or the hardware correctly, and we can then address that with extra training. Then we also have with people who are using job costing module, the case of unallocated employees, and you always want that to be 0 throughout the period. So the time and attendance dashboard was the first point of focus, but we then also expanded that to our generalized dashboards. And over here, we are trying to get as much input from clients as to how to expand this module, since who would know best than the clients using the system as to what and which information to show you. But what we have currently is the information such as current employee teams, which shows the breakdown per team, which you can also choose depending on employee levels, related to the total employees. So in this specific team, there's 16 employees, of which 9 is working piecework. And then we can see exactly where they are performing the work for that day. And if you have the V5 reader with GSM enabled or Wi-Fi enabled, and you're able to extract live information from the orchards, then you can pull this report during the day and not the next day. We can, for instance, also change this to focus on activities, so you can see exactly which activities your teams are performing on that specific day. Other dashboards we have is absenteeisms. That gives you a filter down view of absenteeisms. We can also do a very popular one, which is your employee productivity when doing piecework. These two employees, for instance, definitely above average. The orange line is your average for the team, and all the ones in red is below average. Using the V5 reader with GSM enabled can give you this information during the day, so you can address this person, for instance, on that day and see if you can't improve his productivity. Other dashboards, we have focuses on pruning season, where you can see the pruning season progress on this graph. These ones you can see is basically completed. This one they just started, and these four they completed, made mistakes, and had to go back to fix them. So you get a very quick snapshot of your pruning progress. Other details would be related to activity costs, where you can see a comparison between all your activities and the pay values, the hours worked, the man days involved, and the active employees. And we can see all of that information per activity, and there's also various groupings and sorting options for the specific dashboard. So again, this is the module that we want to expand on, and we're asking all our clients for input on this. And I'm sure over the coming months, we'll be able to add quite a good couple of new dashboards. The next module, and the one that we are most excited about, is the mobile section. And the mobile section is where you're not just viewing information, but you're also able to insert or input information into the system. And on that, we focused mainly on the new employees or the employee take-on process. So this process is specifically there to assist clients with big workforces at the beginning of a season to get as many people into the FCS system and able to clock as soon as possible by inserting them via this process. So it all starts with adding of an ID number. You check for that employee, and this specific person was on the farm before, so that simplifies this process. But also, if the person was not on the farm before, you can still extract or create that person going forward. We also have options here, for instance, where you can preview historic information for this person. In this specific case, you can see exactly when he was working previously, his percentage of absenteeisms. You can even add a rating when you terminate the person, so you can know which persons to take back. And if you have generalized notes about him, you can also add that. But let's reinstate this specific person. So all this information from when he was employed previously would be available. You can then also add tag number immediately. You can add telephone numbers, for instance, if you don't have it in the system yet. You can change his shift if needed. And then you can take a photo of that person and insert it into his employee profile. You can also take a photo of his ID book or his passport and add that to his employee profile. And from in that employee profile, you can at any time extract this information or view this information. This would then give you a nice summary of all the information that was captured, and then you're even able to have a person sign for it, and then you can employ the person. This specific module is also going to expand over time and get new functionality. For instance, the next one we're working on is the option of also taking photos of person's bank card and inserting the bank details immediately. So also an avenue that would be expanded. Besides that, we also added a planning and budget module. And this module is specifically created the representation of actual costs or whichever value is used for determining your budgets compared to the budget. So for instance, if I view this specific information, which was created for 3 specific activities, I can see my progress. So for instance, I can see that the budget for this orchard and harvesting was 32,000, and I can see the actual cost is 29,200. Which means they wanted 91% within budget on this one. And then you can view this and determine which orchards is above budget already or which ones are still below. And this specific functionality will also expand. For instance, when the activity is specific to pruning, we can also add orchard progress information. So you can see, for instance, that the progress is 50%, but your budget is on 80%. So you can even take better actions regarding to your labor costs. Besides that, we're also working on quite a few others. We are working on adding disciplinary action to the FCS system, where you can insert various disciplinary actions against people and then keep track of that. We're also adding a training module where you can load all the training institutions and training courses that people were sent on, even if it is internal, and then keep track and record of that. We're also working on a live reporting functionality, which is very important to us, so that we can assist in reducing the need for printing and paper usage. Basic tasks management, where you can determine a specific task that needs to be performed and then list that into the system, and from there it can be managed and checked for progress. Stock control is also one that we're working on, so that you can, in theory, anything that you want to monitor the stock levels of, you can do in the FCS system. So there's a lot of exciting functionality being added to the system. We also added a new employee portal, and the employee portal at this specific time is mainly there for the adding of leave applications. So this would be more focused on your permanent staff. So you would have them log into this profile on a PC in your office, for instance, and then they can put in their details and the unique PIN they would receive from the FCS system, and then they can apply for leave. The nice thing about this is they can add their application and they can add notes and even documents. And as soon as this information is completed, then the FCS system would receive that application. And from here, you can then either decide to decline or approve that specific leave. Thank you very much.